The conflict in Mali is a decades-old problem that has only gotten worse over recent years. It's a complex problem that involves many national and international actors. France, the UN, ECOWAS, just to name a few, have dedicated tremendous resources and time in efforts to stabilize Mali. Additionally, a consortium of NGO organizations have attempted to create capacity and accountability for localized action and support. However, these activities have been met with meager success, particularly in the north and central regions of the country. Localization of humanitarian support may be the key to stabilizing the major population centers in Mali, as well as restoring authority to the regional and national governments. Localization must be supported and practiced by the Malian people, the Malian government, and its international partners. Also, civilians should not have to live every day in fear for their lives. There must be a social structure created that promotes life's essentials such as food, housing, employment, education, and most importantly, safety and security. If a state government cannot provide a conduit for these basic needs to be met, the government is not likely to be successful. Military might is not the answer. Mali has for far too long relied on a strong, well-funded military, much to its disadvantage. While strong-arm tactics and authoritarian regimes might be successful in creating peace in the short term, in the long term, this has been proven to be detrimental to establishing a lasting democratic government. Past practices of the Malian government have resulted in multiple coups and coup attempts, widespread corruption among government officials, an increase in terrorist attacks, and a sense of isolation from those residents in the north and central regions of the country. The government of Mali must have the authority and capacity to provide essential services for its residents. Providing jobs and education, cleaning up corruption, and promoting human rights are pretty straightforward policies for any government, but providing safety and security from terrorist groups, that's a much trickier proposition. While there is some room for the use of police and military force when combating terrorism, this ultimately does not promote a solution for peace. The solution comes from having a clear understanding of the grievances that these terrorist groups hold. It may be that these fighters want autonomy or sovereignty from the central government, or they may feel that they have a vendetta against the government and want it removed entirely. Regardless, the goals of terrorists are not conducive to a unified, stabilized, sovereign nation. The Malian government must also address the recruitment efforts of terrorist fighters, as recruitment and radicalization are key components of terrorism. The Malian government must have the legitimacy and capacity to counter radicalization and recruitment efforts. Malayans need to feel that they have an alternative for achieving personal success that doesn't involve joining terrorist or militia groups. They need to be provided with opportunities to have a successful life and in return support their country. In other words, Mali needs to support its people while at the same time receiving support from its people. If citizens feel their government has forgotten about them or that the government is seen as providing inadequate support, then they can easily be lured by the promises offered by militants, terrorists, and foreign influencers. Schools should be reopened as soon as possible, and they should be accessible to all Malayan youth. Jobs and job training programs should be available for anyone wishing to work. And the safe reintegration of former fighters, military, or militia members into mainstream society must be a priority when appropriate. People rely on their government for solution, support, and opportunity. Absent any of these, and people will become disillusioned, angry, and will in turn stop supporting the government regime. Instead, they will fight the government and support those that are also seen as fighting the government. The efforts to bring peace and stability to Mali will not be easy. the country faces many challenges both domestically and internationally. One can hope that Mali can learn from past mistakes, capitalize on successes, and ultimately achieve a peaceful, democratic state.